People spend years building a picture of someone in their minds, and most of the time that picture is based on their own assumptions rather than reality. So when the real version finally shows up, it shocks them. The switch isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It comes from growth that happened in silence. The truth leaked the moment your behavior no longer matched the role they assigned you. One shift in your confidence exposed everything they misunderstood. The quiet person wasn't Namva. The patient one wasn't weak. The calm one wasn't blind. That revelation hit harder than anything you could have said out loud, because nothing frightens people more than realizing they misjudged someone who was watching the whole time. There comes a moment when maturity changes the way someone walks into a room, not through arrogance, but through presence. Presence built from healing looks different. It carries steadiness, control, and a sense of self that doesn't bend for approval. When that presence appears, the people who underestimated it feel unsettled. They start questioning how much you always knew. They replay conversations, trying to catch what they missed. Those who tried to manipulate now feel exposed. Those who whispered now feel guilty. The reason for their fear is simple. A person who grows becomes unpredictable to those who relied on their old patterns. And unpredictability is terrifying to people who need control. A reputation shifts long before anyone talks about it. Your consistency, your choices, your silence began speaking louder than any rumor. People noticed how your energy stopped sinking into drama. They noticed how your reactions became measured instead of emotional. They noticed how your life improved even after being treated unfairly. That quiet improvement leaked your secret. The transformation wasn't a show. It was internal discipline becoming visible on the outside. Anyone who doubted you had to accept a new truth. The version they tried to break didn't just survive. It evolved into someone they could never pressure again. Power grows when someone stops explaining themselves. Explanations drain energy. Silence protects it. Once you stopped defending your intentions, the truth stood on its own. People began drawing conclusions from your behavior instead of your words. Your strength leaked through your decisions. Your wisdom leaked through the way you handled conflict. Your progress leaked through your new standards. When someone rises without asking for validation, the world pays attention. Even those who tried to dim your light feel forced to confront the brightness. And the brightness isn't about ego. It's about clarity. Clarity unnerves those who operate in confusion. A change in mindset often scares those who relied on your old habits. Before guilt, pressure, and emotional manipulation worked on you. After the shift, none of it reached you. That emotional distance shook them. They could no longer access your reactions, and without reactions, they had no grip. This is the secret they feared others would see. Your strength was never loud, it was structural. You rebuilt your thinking. You rebuilt your boundaries. You rebuilt your self-worth. Once the world saw the new foundation, anyone who benefited from your old wounds realized their influence had ended for good. Your past used to be a weapon in the hands of people who didn't want you to grow. But once you accepted your story instead of hiding it, the weapon became useless. Acceptance is the ultimate plot twist. No one can scare you with what you've already healed from. That truth leaked in the way you spoke about your experiences without shame. The courage to face your own history intimidated those who never faced theirs. When someone stands tall in their truth, the people who built their power on illusions feel threatened. They fear being compared because your honesty exposes their pretending. A stronger identity changed how people approached you. The ones who came with genuine intentions felt comfortable, while the ones with hidden motives felt uncomfortable. This natural filter revealed who belonged in your life. The shift wasn't forced. It happened through presence alone. Your new energy became a mirror. Some people saw their own goodness reflected back. Others saw their manipulation. That reflection frightened the wrong ones. They realized the person they once underestimated now had the emotional intelligence to identify patterns instantly. That awareness is what terrifies those who thrived in your blind spots. Confidence built from healing always leaks into your lifestyle. You make better choices. You protect your time. You value your peace. These changes might seem small to you, but they are huge to people who hoped you would stay wounded. They preferred the version of you that accepted disrespect. The version that over-explained. The version that feared being alone. The new version broke that entire dynamic. Your strength wasn't a secret you announced. It was a reality that became visible through your consistency. That visibility made people who underestimated you feel exposed, because your growth highlighted their stagnation. Growth revealed a truth most people avoid. Sometimes people aren't scared of what you'll do to them. They're scared of what your progress says about them. It reminds them of the work they refused to do on themselves. It shows them the level they could have reached if they didn't waste their energy harming others. Instead of celebrating your rise, they panic because it removes their excuses. Watching you level up in silence is a reminder that their comfort zone is nothing but fear dressed as stability. Respect for your own worth sends messages that words never could. When a person finally draws a line not out of anger, but out of maturity, everyone around them feels the shift. No raised voice is needed. No dramatic exit. The behavior alone speaks. It tells others what is acceptable and what will never be allowed again. It tells those who doubted you that the version they used to manipulate no longer exists. It tells the quiet wounds inside you that healing actually happened. People might try to challenge it, test it, or push against it, but self-respect doesn't bend. It stands steady, and that steadiness becomes louder than any apology, argument, or justification you could ever offer. Silence backed by self-worth hits differently from silence backed by fear. One is avoidance. The other is power. When self-respect becomes your anchor, you no longer hide from conflict. You simply refuse to entertain disrespect. This is why the shift is so noticeable. Instead of reacting emotionally, you walk away with clarity. Instead of defending your character, you let the truth unfold on its own. Self-respect chooses the long game. It doesn't rush to prove innocence. It doesn't beg for fairness. It doesn't cling to situations that drain the spirit. That calm refusal to participate is what makes people stop and reconsider the way they treated you. Distance formed from dignity speaks louder than confrontation. When someone with self-respect creates space, it isn't to punish. It's to protect their peace. And that protection becomes a lesson. People start realizing how much they took your presence for granted. They begin to understand that access to a calm heart should never be assumed. Absence created from strength makes others feel their own behavior more clearly. You didn't shut down. You simply recalibrated your value. That value becomes visible the moment you stop tolerating what once drained you. Anyone who misread your kindness suddenly sees the courage it took to walk away. Boundaries shaped by self-respect never require yelling. They require consistency. You learn to say no without guilt. You learn to stop agreeing to things that hurt you later. You learn to protect your time like it was something worth safeguarding. This shift rewired how people approached you. Some stepped up, adjusted, and treated you better. Others complained because they benefited from your lack of boundaries. Either way, your standards spoke on your behalf, and each standard removed a layer of chaos from your life. The quietness that followed wasn't loneliness. It was the beginning of peace that had been waiting for you. Self-respect changes the type of conversations you allow. You no longer try to convince someone of your worth. You no longer entertain circular discussions meant to exhaust you. You no longer fight for closure from people who enjoy confusion. Communication becomes cleaner, direct, honest, no hidden agendas. People learn quickly that manipulation has no effect on someone who knows their value. Even the ones who once played mind games notice the shift. They feel exposed because the tactics that used to sway you now bounce off without impact. Your clarity becomes their discomfort. Healing guided by self-respect makes forgiveness easier but access harder. You don't hold grudges. You don't carry anger. You simply remember the lesson and adjust accordingly. This balance creates a level of emotional maturity that unsettles those who expected you to stay hurt forever. Instead of returning to chaos, you return to yourself. Instead of arguing about the past, you focus on the future. Forgiveness becomes a gift you give yourself, not something you hand out to earn peace from someone else. That inner freedom becomes loud enough to be noticed even without saying a word. Growth rooted in self. Respect forces you to be honest with yourself. You start admitting which habits weakened you. You acknowledge where you settled. You confront the ways you abandoned your own needs. That honesty is painful at first, but it transforms you. Once you stop lying to yourself, no one else's lie can control you. People who once manipulated your guilt or insecurity find no buttons left to push. You outgrew the emotional triggers that once kept you in loops. This new sense of truth within yourself becomes louder than any explanation you could give others. A person with self-respect makes different choices. No more chasing potential in someone who refuses to grow. No more waiting for loyalty from someone who benefits from your confusion. No more pouring into relationships that leave you empty. Choosing differently isn't arrogance, it's awareness. Life becomes simpler because your energy flows where it's valued. Opportunities open because your mindset now matches your goals. People who doubted your strength witness it in the way you choose environments that support your well-being instead of repeating old patterns. Respecting yourself changes your tone without making you cold. You speak clearly. You stand firm. You express needs without fear. This steadiness makes people rethink how they approach you. Emotional manipulation becomes ineffective. Guilt loses its grip. Pressure falls flat. The calm assurance in your voice becomes the proof of your transformation. No anger needed. No speeches. Just a presence that says, without saying, that you finally understand your own worth. That understanding bends environments in your favor more than confrontation ever could. There comes a stage where carrying yourself differently becomes the quiet message that no one can ignore. People notice when your spirit refuses to bend in places where it once collapsed. They sense the firmness in your decisions, the clarity in your eyes, the way your presence no longer apologizes for existing. That shift makes those who once underestimated you feel uneasy, because it reveals something they never wanted to face. You finally treat yourself the way you should have been treated all along. That new standard exposes who fell short of it. And without raising your voice, you communicate a truth far more powerful than confrontation ever could. You show through behavior alone that your loyalty is no longer up for negotiation. Even the smallest choices start carrying weight once your sense of worth becomes non-negotiable. Whether it is refusing a conversation that drains you or stepping back from someone who continually tests your patience, these actions echo loudly. People begin adjusting because the old dynamic no longer works. They can sense that you aren't seeking acceptance anymore. You're seeking alignment, and that subtle difference forces everyone around you to choose how they want to show up. Some rise to meet the new energy. Others fall away naturally. No drama, no shouting. Just self-respect acting as a filter that keeps your life safe, clean, and honest. Every person who ever relied on your softness to get away with bad behavior feels the pressure once you start valuing yourself. They sense that the space they once occupied is no longer guaranteed. They recognize that they must either treat you properly or lose you entirely. That realization is frightening for those who misused your patience. Your growth becomes the mirror they never wanted to face. And because you're not attacking them, the truth hits deeper. People can argue with anger. People cannot argue with evolution. Your change stands in front of them like a quiet verdict, reminding them of everything they took for granted. There is something powerful about the moment you decide that your peace costs too much to be traded away for anyone. That decision upgrades your entire life. Instead of shrinking yourself to keep others comfortable, you take up space without guilt. Instead of pretending you're fine, you honor what you feel and act accordingly. Instead of chasing situations that confuse you, you choose ones that make you feel grounded. This level of honesty within yourself builds an aura that speaks louder than any confrontation. People who once manipulated you feel that wall of inner strength instantly. They may not say it out loud, but they know the version they controlled no longer exists. Nothing communicates transformation more clearly than the way you treat yourself after heartbreak, betrayal, or disappointment. Some people crumble and lose their identity. Others rebuild with a discipline that turns them untouchable. Your rebuilding stage became your answer to everything done behind your back. You didn't return the disrespect. You didn't spread stories. You didn't fight for attention. Instead, you put that energy into becoming someone with self-worth that could no longer be shaken. And that is why your silence became so loud. It wasn't emptiness. It was growth speaking for you. A kind of growth that forces everyone who underestimated you to finally see the truth.